We also tell a story for maximum impact. We lead up to a punchline. If you're going to tell a friend a story about you were at a basketball game and your best friend fell into the middle of the court and it was this big, funny ordeal or whatever, you don't start the story off by saying, oh yeah, we were there and so fell right in the middle of the basketball court. Now here, let me tell you what happened. And you wouldn't do that. We lead up to the punchline to tell the story for maximum impact. We do the same thing in public speaking. And last but not least, we adapt to listener feedback. If you go home today and you're telling your significant other about your day, and they start to fall asleep while you're telling them about your day, what are you going to do? Wake them up somehow, thump them. I heard kick them, that kind of thing. Some of you are going to get physical with them. Okay, you're not going to just keep talking, are you? Just as if they were listening? You're going to adapt to that feedback. Well, it's the same thing in public speaking. If you're up here giving a speech and you look out and your audience looks like they're about to fall asleep, you better kick it up a notch and make yourself a little bit more enthusiastic, okay? If you look out at your audience and they have this puzzled look on their face, like, huh? You should stop and explain to them what you're talking about. You're going to be delivering your speeches extemporaneously, which we're going to learn about here in just a second, but it gives you the freedom to be able to do that, where you can stop and explain things. Okay, so we adapt to listener feedback, not just in conversation, but also in public speaking. Now, those are the ways that public speaking is similar to conversation, but there are some differences, obviously. So let's take a look at what those differences are. No, they're not, but I can put them online for you. The first difference between public speaking and conversation is that public speaking is more highly structured. Generally, a public speaker will speak without interruption, and I don't know about you, but I haven't had many conversations where I speak without being interrupted. Usually conversations have that banter back and forth where you kind of interrupt each other. But in public speaking, generally the speaker will speak without being interrupted. Public speaking also will always have time limits. I don't care if you're the most popular person on the planet. If you're getting up to speak in public, you're going to have a time limit. If people have come together to listen to somebody speak, they need to know how long to plan to be there. The person who is speaking needs to know how much information to prepare to actually speak. So if you're speaking in public, no matter who you are, you're always going to have time limits, just like we do in here. The second difference is that public speaking requires more formal language. Now, if you're having a conversation with your friends, you can use slang. Depending on your friends, you may possibly use profanity, and that's probably perfectly acceptable with a conversation with your friends. But in public speaking, we have to leave that stuff out. So we have to use a little bit more formal language in public speaking. And public speaking also requires a little bit different method of delivery. For one thing, you want to avoid distracting mannerisms. When you're speaking, you should never have anything in your hands. Not a pen or a pencil or a paperclip or a rubber band or anything that you might have in your hands, because what happens if you have something in your hands? It's distracting, isn't it? You're going to be playing with it, and you might not even notice that you're playing with it because you're nervous. Okay, so you might not notice, but your audience is going to notice, and it's distracting for them. So try not to have anything in your hands because it can be distracting. You also want to project your voice a little bit more than you would in a conversation. You want to be loud enough so that everybody can hear you. So if you're normally soft-spoken, when you get up to give a speech, you want to speak a little bit louder so that everybody can hear you. You also want to have an erect posture, meaning you want to stand up straight. If you're having a conversation with your friend, it's perfectly acceptable for you to kick back, be relaxed, maybe put your feet up, whatever you want to do to get comfortable. But when you are giving a speech, you want to stand up straight. Okay? So if I was to come in here and I was going to give you a speech, and I come in here and I'm all laying all over the podium and, okay, I think I'm ready to teach class now. I mean, what do you think? That I don't care? That I need a chair? Okay. Maybe I'm tired, I didn't get enough sleep, something, all right? Maybe I hate my job. Nothing positive, right? Not here. She's ready to go. She knows her stuff. I need to listen to her. Okay, so you want to stand up straight. So here's what I encourage you to do. When you come up to give your speeches, you want to put your feet about a shoulder's width apart and put your weight evenly distributed on both feet. The reason you want your weight evenly distributed on both feet is because what happens if you have your weight on one foot? After a few seconds, you're going to what? You're going to switch. And then you're standing here, and after a few more seconds, you're going to switch again. And then because you're nervous and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you might just end up swaying like this, and you're rocking. The other thing that happens sometimes is you got this foot over here, it has no weight on it, so you might be twisting it, or you might start shaking it like this. And even if I am standing back here behind the podium and I'm shaking my foot like this, what do you see up here? Yeah, I look like I'm shaking, don't I? Okay. I had a student one time, he was really nervous. I felt really bad for him. He came up to the front of the room and he started swinging his leg like this. And he didn't even know he was doing it. And then he'd stop and he'd start swinging his other leg like this. Okay, we had a conversation after class and I pointed it out to him and he said, I did? And he had no idea that he was doing it, okay? So consciously, when you come up to give your speech, feet, shoulders width apart, weight evenly distributed on both feet, and stand up straight. Now, if your hands are shaking, you are going to be in front of the podium. You just set your hands down right here on the podium. As soon as you set your hands down, we cannot see that your hands are shaking. Okay? So if you come up here, and it'll surprise you for some of you, if you think you're not going to be nervous, it may surprise you when you get up here and your hands start shaking, and then it really scares you because you think, oh my gosh, my hands are shaking, everybody's going to see it. You just set your hands down right here. If you can have natural hand gestures, go ahead and have natural hand gestures. I talk with my hands. My children now talk with their hands because they've watched me do it for so long. It's kind of funny. I'm one of those people that if you made me sit on my hands, I couldn't talk. But if you're not one of those people, then don't have hand gestures, okay? Please don't do this and now and don't do the fake hand gestures, okay? So just if it's natural for you to talk with your hands, talk with your hands. If it's not, then just don't worry about it.